Hello everyone. Today is all about copper. According to the Vintage Story Handbook, you have officially entered the early Copper Age once you have a pickaxe and a hammer. But how fast can you reach the Copper Age? Well, let's find out. Copper itself is easy enough to find on the ground, and sometimes you'll get lucky and find it in the storage vessels of ruins. To have enough for a pickaxe and hammer, you will need a total of 40 nuggets. Now normally I would be marking my map each time I found copper on the ground, but since this world was created only for this challenge, I'll be skipping that part. For those of you playing survival, make sure to press M to open your map and right-click to create a waypoint. If you choose the color orange and then the pickaxe symbol, the waypoint will automatically be named copper. Don't forget to grab food as often as you can, and if you see any clay, grab it at once. Your pockets will soon get full, so gather cattails for increased inventory. I have challenged myself to reach the early Copper Age by day 2. It is possible to reach it on day 1, but only if you are ridiculously lucky. This is because you need coal to smelt the copper nuggets. And unless you find enough by chance, you will need to chop down many trees and build a charcoal pit. The pit will burn for 18 in-game hours, which means it is nearly impossible to make the pickaxe and hammer on day 1. In my case, I needed to make charcoal, which meant gathering enough firewood to fill a 2 by 2 by 2 hole. While gathering wood, I heard wolves and decided a beast pit would be to my benefit. I might even get some easy food out of it. I decided to use one of the logs and a knife to make a wooden pan, which I would need later for gathering more copper. Back to the charcoal pit. I started a campfire, which I quickly enclosed in dirt. When making a charcoal pit, you have a limited amount of time after lighting the fire to cover any areas that would otherwise be exposed to the air. If you do not do this quickly and correctly, the firewood will burn instead of turning into charcoal. While this is happening, you might as well work on the clay molds and crucible. You will need 3 one-block holes for the pit kilns. Make sure to cover them with dirt or another non-flammable material, just in case it rains. If this is your first time using clay, you'll want to crouch to place it on the ground. Select the item you want to shape. Press F to work with different amounts of clay at once. Right-click to add to the shape. Left-click to remove from the shape. You can also press F to choose the copy option, which will repeat the last layer over and over again. After placing the items in the holes, crouch and keep adding dry grass until the prompt tells you to switch to adding sticks. Next, choose your fuel. The pit kiln will burn for 20 hours on firewood, 16 hours on peat, and 10 hours on coal in-game. I was hoping to find some peat to speed up the pit kilns, but I also needed more food. I didn't find any food, but I did find peat, so I returned to my camp to fire the pit kilns. My hunger was getting low, so I gathered cattail roots and threw them on the fire. The wolf was still nearby, so I decided to lure it rather than wait for it to get too close. It took a few tries, but soon I had some bushmeat to fill my belly. The last part of this process was the copper. I didn't have nearly enough nuggets, which meant I needed to pan for the rest. To start panning, you have to stand in the water and click once to scoop up one layer from either sand or gravel, and then click again and hold your mouse button until the panning process finishes. This is very slow and can yield just about any item. You might get a rusty gear, a spearhead, or simply a rock. No matter what you get, you will be there all day collecting enough copper to make the pickaxe and hammer. Unfortunately, panning for copper uses a lot of energy. I soon needed to find more food. I went out looking for berries, but only found wolves and a few pigs instead. I failed to hunt the pigs and was starting to starve, but I managed to find some copper, so the trip wasn't a complete waste. I also found mushrooms and hoped they would last long enough for me to finish the challenge. They didn't. Day 2 was ending, and I had failed to find enough copper. I dug up more cattail roots and got back to work panning through the sand. At long last, I had 40 copper nuggets. I wasted no time putting them in the crucible and making sure they were spread out so they melted faster. I had far more coal than I needed, but that was fine. I just needed to make some rope using the cattails, and then make a pair of tongs so I wouldn't burn myself on the crucible. I poured the molten copper into the molds and waited. As I watched the metal cool, I reflected on the challenge. If I had been able to find peat sooner, if I had plenty of berries to eat, if I had been able to find more copper on the surface, maybe I could have finished on day 2. But even that seemed difficult. I think, ultimately, finishing in 2 days was a bit too ambitious. I may have failed the 2-day challenge, but now I know you can reasonably reach the early copper age by day 3. I finished the challenge by throwing the hot copper hammer and pickaxe heads into water and waiting for them to cool enough to attach to a stick. Finally, it was over. Thank you for watching. I look forward to learning more about this game as I go, and until next time, take care of yourself.